Hello, good evening,
Good evening.
and welcome to another Scotney takeover of Wild Ginger Running. And we're here, yes, at the later time, 8 o'clock. We hope you've not been sat here since 7:30 waiting for us to arrive. We did announce that we're here at 8 o'clock tonight, but it's great to be back. And have we got a guest tonight?
Amazing guest.
We have, one of, I know we often kind of call ultrarunner legends, but we do have what I would say is one of the kind of, just top blokes of ultra running, a legend in himself who's done some amazing races. I mean, we think of ultra running as running a far distance, but this guy is absolutely
Yeah, he's doing that.
he's taken it to the nth degree. So who's that? I don't know why we always hand this over to you to announce the guest. I don't know why I'm always doing this
Tonight
too.
we are chatting to Dan Lawson, who is hello Dan. Who is there now?
Hi,
Hello, Dan. Where are you at the moment?
where am I?
Yeah.
Exactly. You want to know? I'm actually in my daughter's bedroom in her flat because, we live in a van, and but the internet's a bit patchy, so I've come to here, so I don't keep dropping out. Yeah.
We
So
appreciate that. We did have
and,
Lizzie
and
Hawker a few months ago, who was kind of up in some mountain hut, and we did have some internet problems with that.
yeah,
So.
yeah, it is a bit patchy, and apologies because that 8 o'clock time is my fault. Yeah.
Hey,
And
Fine.
no,
Doesn't
we're more than
No,
happy to have
I
it.
said, but it's because I've been I've just come out of a hot yoga session as well, so and rushed here to my daughter's. Yeah, so yeah.
Brilliant.
Well,
All
thank
good
you so
though.
much
Yeah.
for making the effort.
And thank
We
you
really
for a
appreciate it.
wonderful introduction.
Well,
Yeah.
we haven't even
Well-
mentioned about the sort of things that you do. We're very
Yeah.
unprofessional at actually giving the intro because we know who our guests are. But, I mean, yeah, we're here to talk about LEJOG, which you did last year now, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Running from Land's End to John O'Groats. And we've also put in the show notes that the link to Dave MacFarlane's film called Breaking 10, which is breaking 10 days for the record. Well, we're calling you the record holder. We're going with that.
We're going record holder. Yeah, we might come on to the
Yeah, there is some dispute, isn't there? It's an interesting subject. Yeah.
there is,
Yeah.
but
yeah.
you've not only just done LEJOG, Land's End to John O'Groats, for those who maybe don't know what we're talking about when we say LEJOG. You've also podiumed at 24-hour running at the European Championships, haven't you? You've won that. That's what I mean. You podiumed that there. You've won Grand Union Canal. You have got a huge array of results to your name, and you've done some crazy stuff on treadmills as well. Is that right?
Yeah, I did spend a week on a treadmill, yeah, a good few years ago, and yeah, it was probably one of the worst things I've ever done. Yeah,
Really?
it was no, it was awful. It was to raise money for a charity I was working for at the time, and yeah, I think the record was 520 odd miles in a week, so not massive, not very doable if you were happy to be on a treadmill for that long. But yeah, it was awful. It really was terrible. Yeah, because like part of the reason, especially I run, and I think all of us run, is to get that headspace and that kind of flow state and that meditation. But it just didn't seem possible on a treadmill. It was completely different. I hadn't run much on a treadmill before, but yeah, it was painful. It was really bad.
Like
And
painfully mentally rather than physically, or both?
mentally, yeah, I just couldn't. Sometimes I find it quite easy, like, to float away to, like, into Narnia and stuff when I'm running, but I just couldn't zone out on that treadmill. I don't know. There was certain things that, for one, that screen in front of you the whole time with the miles just kind of ticking, like 1/10 of a mile, just going was horrible, and it was all in the public view as well. It was in like a marquee in the middle of Brighton, so there was constantly people coming in and just asking the same questions, like, how are your legs, how far you gone, like, and it was just, I don't know, just really started doing my head in. On the last day, I had 2 other treadmills beside me, and people would come and run, But on the last day, I made them turn my treadmill round. So I was up facing the wall and I wasn't looking, so no one could ask me anything or look at me, which is, oh, yeah. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend that to anyone. It was pretty hideous, but it's something that it's really nice because it is an experience that I can draw upon sometimes. Like at the end of races and stuff, I have gone back in my head and thought, well, I did that and I was feeling awful and it was terrible, so I can do this. It's yeah. So maybe it was worthwhile, and we did raise a little bit of money as well. So yeah. But never again. Yeah.
But then I can understand completely that sounds awful trying to run on a treadmill in that. But then when I'm watching the film of you running the jog, you're like by some really busy roads in awful weather, and to me that seems just as hard to find that flow and that space. Or is there just something so different with being outside?
I think when I run, there really is something completely different about being outside, and for me, it's that kind of, it's when the blue sky, when the green of the trees and the grass hit that contrast with the blue sky, it's some sort of like resonation that really, I don't know, it works for me. Yeah. And the roads on the jog are very busy. They're A roads, but you can make a decision to look at the road and pay attention to the traffic, or look to your left, and the backdrop of the countryside is amazing and it's beautiful. I mean, the A9 is a hideous, busy like road, like with angry lorry drivers, but you're winding your way through the Cairngorms, and the backdrop is amazing. So it's like, I suppose it's what you choose to. You can choose where you want to be on your run, but on a treadmill, you didn't have that choice. You were there was no outside. You couldn't even see the sky because I was under a marquee. I think that really affected my state of mind. Yeah, whilst I was running.
So next time, gazebo with sides open rather than in like
a convertible gazebo, or even. Yeah, like on the back of a flatbed truck or something being driven around. Or, yeah.
Well, that's moving along. That'd be we did have Mimi Anderson on a few months ago talking to her about some of the crazy stuff she's done, and she was talking about her treadmill world record she went and how horrific they were. I think
she was people watching in a shopping centre on her.
But she did bash her toe, didn't she, at some point? And but she ended up having a bit of a.
She ended up getting off the treadmill, going outside and screaming, I think, and then coming back on.
Yeah, but it is that thing as well. I mean, that sort of thing happens, as you well know, in lots of races. You get a chance to release that. I ran the Thames Path the other day, 100 miles on the Thames Path, and I hadn't run a race for a while, and I quite enjoyed that. You do a lot of shouting at no one when you're out on your own on one of those races, and you have the chance to, because you're in places where there's no one else around at all. But yeah, it was that constant. There was always someone constantly there watching you. A little bit like the 24-hour races and 24-hour track races, where again you're kind of being watched the whole time, and it's harder to have those moments where you can just shout at the wind or shout at the rain, or because I do that a lot. I quite enjoy it.
Yeah, we didn't. I mean, we said you kind of won the European Challenge, but you have ran. How many times you ran for Great Britain now?
I don't know, 4 or 5 maybe.
Yeah, 4 or 5 GB events, and a lot of those races are quite short looped courses, aren't they? Some of the 24-hour. So is that again quite similar, like you were just saying there, being on the treadmill? You know, you're stuck in that continuous loop. You know,
there's less of a flow to it. There's less of a meaning to it, if you know what I mean. When you run those A to B races, they're beautiful because they're journeys, and they are journeys because you are running from one point to another point, you know. And if you run a race like with a history as well, like the Spartathlon, where you're running, like you're following in the footsteps of a historical, they're even more wonderful journeys, and there's a real meaning and a flow to them. But yeah, when you're just running round and round a track, it is a journey in your mind and in your like the whole thing. But it's harder for your mind to convince yourself you should carry on, because why are you doing this? We're just running round and round, and I think they're much harder. The 24-hour races are, and we say it a lot about ultra running, that the 24-hour races are more mental than physical, like much more mental than physical. And I think I'd go as far to say that the 24-hour race is like a real ultra run. Like the A to B races are more like adventures and fun, but like I'd say like real ultra running comes in those mental challenges on those 24-hour races, like the first kind of race. I mean, then you might do 48 hours, 6 day, that sort of thing. But yeah, the first sort of race where it is just, it's so much more mental than physical.
Yeah, I think when I've been on the ultras, and you can have that mantra, like even however tough it is, it's like, well, the quicker you go, the sooner this will be over. But when I've done the looped courses, obviously it's it really is up to you to keep going as fast as you can, because otherwise you could walk and the race would still be the same duration.
yeah, it's right, because it is. I mean, running those sort of distances, as you know, it's a constant battle with you and your mind, and convincing your mind that it's a good, there's a point to what you're doing, because your mind's always telling you to stop, isn't it? And on the A to B races, it's easy. It's an easy conversation with your mind to have, saying, right, if I run faster, I'm going to get to the end quicker, and then it's finished quicker. So it's like we all have those conversations, don't we, in our head?
It's like kind of bribing a toddler, isn't it?
Yeah, it's exactly like that. Yeah, and the 24-hour, there's no argument. Like, you can't. It's like, well, if you run faster, you're actually running further, and it's like there's nothing. Yeah, it's really difficult, because there is no argument to run faster and to keep on running, and and every kilometre there's your aid station where you can, where it's easy to stop and easy to, I mean, it's the World 24-Hour Championships this year, and I think they announced the team today, and I decided to not put my name forward for it, because I feel like I don't know, I haven't had enough of the 24-hour format, but I've lost a bit of that excitement inside my. Yeah, maybe I have had enough of the 24-hour format. I don't know.
It might come back.
Have we got a scoop here? Does this mean we've got
Dan Lawson is switching to 10Ks only?
Yeah, it's not 10Ks. I will go back to 24s, because I still don't feel. I really, the format has beaten me. It's consistent. I've got lucky a couple of times, and I've managed to run like times and distances, but I've never consistently run 3 like good ones in a row, and it's always been something I wanted to do, like just run 3 good ones in a row, and I haven't managed to do it. So I don't feel like I've had the upper hand on that, on the 24-hour format.
When you think that you've had bad ones, what's been the problem, or what's gone wrong, or
the problem is I haven't been. I mean, to be completely honest, every time I've stopped in a 24-hour race is because my mind hasn't been strong enough. There's always an excuse, like my knee was a bit injured, or I had stomach problems.
I was going to say the stomach problem.
Yeah. My belief, at the end of the day, if your mind is strong enough, that sort of stuff is never, if you've got a strong mind, you can throw up projectile vomit on the side of a track and carry on running. And if you've got a strong mind, an injury doesn't affect you, you can carry on going. So, the times I've stopped, I've just not wanted to carry on. That's why it's as simple as that. And because I haven't been strong enough mentally to convince my mind to keep me running. So I'd love to be able to do 3 in a row above 250k, but I haven't managed it. So, it's
I mean, we're getting kind of ahead of ourselves in some way. I mean, it'd be interesting to find out, how did you get into these kind of 20? So we kind of jumped onto that kind of 550 miles on a treadmill. And I know for a bit of our research that you did a half marathon at a very young age and then left running for quite a while, played football for a bit, and then running came to you kind of, was it mid to late 20s? You suddenly found Brighton and London Marathon, you started doing marathons?
Oh, I think it was later than that. I think it was more mid to late 30s, maybe. Yeah. Yeah. I think it was. I played football for like 20 years. Yeah. And loved it. Yeah. I was never that good, but I had a good engine. Yeah. So, yeah. And then just went back to running. I got a little bit bored of football and went back to running. So, yeah. And the 24-hour racing, like, how did I get into that? I entered a 24-hour. I didn't know anything about it. I entered a 24-hour race in Gloucester, just because I was looking for a race to do around that time. And I saw that, oh wow, they do 24 hours around a track. I'll try that out. And yeah, I tried it out, and just that, unbeknownst to me, got the GB qualifying distance. And Richard Brown, who was the manager at the time, the GB, got in touch with me, and then I went to a World Championships, and that was just me. Not hooked on 24s, but I started running like a few more of them after then. So it was kind of by chance. Yeah.
So going into Gloucester, you had no idea what the qualifying distance was, and it was
No, I didn't. I didn't even know it was a thing. I didn't even know there was a GBT. No.
Had you done an ultra before? Had you run like 12 hours?
Yeah, I'd done. I'd run a couple, maybe like a 100-miler, and I just run a race in the mountains. I wanted to go to UTMB, but I just felt I needed to do. It wasn't the greatest training for UTMB, was it? 24 hours
Are you going to
around.
It's like the week before or something, like a lot of.
No, it was just, there was a gap, and I think, I need to do a race, and I just found this one, and probably it was. Probably because it was quite cheap, because they are cheaper to run, the track, the 24 ones. So I just thought, I might as well, I'll try and do this. And and I remember my pacing was hideous. I remember like running around this track, and I think my first marathon was that sub 3 hours on the. I remember shouting to Charlotte, who was at the time, was crewing me, and again was quite new to the whole crewing thing. That I was saying to her, I'm going too fast. I was just shouting out, I'm going way too fast, but I couldn't stop. I think I'd never run on a track before, and I was quite enjoying how bouncy it felt on the track. It was quite a funny day, and Charlotte was new to crewing. We always remember the story. She came out to give me like a drink or something at 2 a.m, and then she promptly fell asleep for like 3 or 4 hours in lane 3 and 4, just like face down. Lane 3 and 4. Always remind her of that. But
a body in the way, like an obstacle, making it like a steeplechase race. There's something to kind of jump over there. Wow, that's great. And we're kind of, Dan's frozen a little bit there. Hopefully we're not lost him, or it's not us what have lost our Wi-Fi there. If you are watching this live at the moment, you can kind of send Dan a question for us on YouTube here, and we'll ask it to Dan. We're going to chat very shortly about the amazing film, kind of breaking 10 days, which is a phenomenal run along the Land's End to John O'Groats route, what Dan has done. Hopefully we'll get him back very shortly. We'll try and ping him a message. Maybe something's gone wrong on his Wi-Fi or connection. So if you are watching it, have any questions, get them into us now, and I'm sure we're going to continue hearing some kind of entertaining stories of kind of crewing for Dan. If you have watched the film already and you want to ask a question from the film as well, so get those questions in. I think we've lost Dan, but we're going to try and bring him back now. Let's see if we can.
Sorry about this.
You can hear us.
Thanks, Paul, for letting us know that it was
hello.
going and not us.
Yeah,
we lost you a minute, Dan.
Yeah, I lost you. You just got all frozen on my screen. Yeah,
we're still waiting for you to reconnect on
There
here.
we
There you
go.
go, and we'll bring you back into the show. Oh, we need to get that a bit smaller. Excellent. I think maybe because we're just all having a good laugh about Charlotte kind of being the crew there for you. So,
on the job.
So when you did that 24-hour, did you have like a planned food strategy then? Had you kind of been thinking, right, this is what I'm going to need 24 hours, or was that pretty much all like with Charlotte falling asleep in the lane a bit?
No, I mean I can't really remember, but I think no, definitely not, because I can't remember. I've never been quite good at planned food strategies, and with the GB team, we have to give them a food strategy, like I don't know, a few weeks before we do the race. But yeah, mine's just pure fabrication. I know.
Something to keep them quiet off your back.
Just cut and paste someone else's, and yeah, it's not a strong point of mine, nutrition. And yeah, I mean, I've found in recent times on the LEJOG, and I've found like things like drink, like it's so much simpler. I use like the beta fuel or Morton, so I can just drink and I don't really have to think about anything else. Yeah. So no, I wouldn't have had a nutrition plan, and God knows what I ate or tried to eat. Probably not much at all. Yeah, it's quite a common theme in my races that I hope that I can eat loads, but I run about 10 or 15 miles and then I'm just not interested in eating at all. I find it really hard to eat whilst I'm running, so that's why those kind of drinks help out, because I can drink, but I really don't want to eat. Yeah. And I don't know about you, but I find, like, when we were talking about on the treadmill, like being able to zone out and being able to get into a nice kind of state, I find I can do that so much easier if all I'm doing is running, and that really means like all I'm doing is running. So if I'm having to think about drinking a certain amount each hour or eating something every 15 minutes, it kind of takes me out of that state. I'd always rather just run and not have to worry about anything else at all. So yeah, that's kind of like my default setting, so I always go into that. But that's why people like Robbie are very good alongside me on the LEJOG, because he's just there pestering me to eat the whole time, and although it can be really annoying, it is it works, and you do need to get fuel in, don't you? Otherwise you do get to some serious like bonking states.
Yeah. So you've been doing these 24-hour races. So when did LEJOG come on the radar?
LEJOG has always. So Richard Brown is who was one of the previous record holders of LEJOG. He's now 70 odd, Richard, and he's a legend in ultra running, as is his wife, who's run over 200 milers, Sandra Brown. I mean, she's amazing. And he would tell me stories about his LEJOG or joggle attempt, and it was always, he's been a real great like mentor for me, like always someone had my back, and always someone I could speak to and talk to about races and stuff. So I always wanted to try and attempt the joggle, to see how close I could get to Richard's record, and not even to beat his record, but more in honor of like how he's helped me with my ultra running sort of thing. So it's something I've always wanted to do.
Yeah, because I mean it's got a big history, isn't it, LEJOG?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know if we said at the beginning of the interview, but like when we were talking beforehand, there is a bit of contention over the records, isn't there? And that there's one record which beat Richard's kind of by a day, wasn't it? It was kind of.
This is Andy Rivet.
Yeah, Andy Rivet, because Richard's was 10 hours. 10 days, 2 hours, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then Andy Rivet did 9 days, 2 hours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's some contention on whether or not he did because of how it was ratified. Because obviously, when those guys did it, was that in the late 80s, early 90s?
I think it was in the late 80s, yeah. The record was kind of being passed between Richard and Don Ritchie at the time. I mean, Don Ritchie, it's hard. I mean, he must be the best ultra runner we've like Britain's ever produced, yeah. And it was kind of being passed between those two. And I think Richard took it from Don Ritchie, and then maybe a year or so later, Andy attempted it, and took a day. Well, according to him, took a day off Richard's time. And I mean, I don't know Andy, but all I know is I've looked at Will Cockrell and Andy Milroy, who are very up on all of the kind of older records, have sent me loads and loads of documentation and reports about, you know, Andy's attempt, and it seems more and more unlikely that Andy could have done that time. Not everything's possible, you know. I believe that any athlete, any runner on their day can do amazing things, but it just seems more and more unlikely that he may have set that time. That he was an ultra runner and he was okay, but he wasn't Don Ritchie, and he beat Don Ritchie and Richard Brown's time by a day. You know, he's that's, I don't know, it's a crazy, like Yanis Kouros would have struggled to beat that 9 days 2 hours time. So, you know, he may well have done it, but if I was a betting man and I was putting money on the fact that he did or he didn't, I think I'd go for the he didn't, you know. So
yeah. And I think a lot of the kind of fans and followers of LEJOG, even myself, as you say, you look at the pedigree, even of yourself, you say Don Ritchie, yeah, you know, you've all got that pedigree, you've all got that level of international running results to kind of back your performance up going into doing such an event, and then, you know, getting such a quick time on it. And yeah, and we're not here to talk about Andy Rivet tonight, but yeah, it does kind of, and there's even some question marks over the validation as well, isn't it? Because, you know, now we have GPS tracing, open tracking, you record a lot easier. You can tell if people are kind of fiddling it, even, you know, what's his name, who got caught out trying to go across America,
yeah.
Because they found its cadence was wrong, but there's even trying to keep the band really slow. But you know, technology will catch you out ultimately. But in those days, yeah, there wasn't the technology, and they're relying on people's reports and stuff. And there just seems holes in it, doesn't it? It doesn't seem like a really strong cemented, you know, account of what he did.
Yeah, but you know, it is possible to beat that time. But what you need is you need nine perfect days. You know, when you have that race, when you go out and you have that perfect race and everything goes brilliantly, and at the end you're like, oh my god, that was we all dream of that perfect race. You need 9 of those in consecutive days for it to happen. So it can happen. I mean, like Leicester City won the Premiership there, but it's like it's unusual that could happen, you know, because, well, I mean, so it was my second attempt last year, and the first attempt I tried. I was going out to try and beat Andy's mark of 9 days, 9 days 2 hours or whatever. And if you have a bad couple of hours, you're then playing catch up. It's really hard, you know. And then when you're playing catch up and you're seeing the record slip a bit, then, you know, it becomes, your mental state is affected, you know. And it really is, yeah. If you have a bad afternoon, you're in trouble. You're not going to do it. So yeah.
So that was in 2018 that you had that attempt with, on that schedule. So how far with that, and what did that look like at the end when you were pulling out?
I went the other way around. So I started in John Groats, and I got to I think I got to Bridgewater, so that's just like below Bristol or something. I don't know how far that was or how far I had to go. I mean, it was pretty close to the end, but a long way away also. Like
we're all tracking you then.
And yeah, I went for Andy's record, and I just wasn't good enough to set, to beat that 9 days 2 hours. I just I think I put too much into it, and by the time I got to Bridgewater, I was fucked. So and it wasn't going to happen. So it just didn't happen on that occasion. Yeah, I kind of I don't know what was happening inside me, but I was puffing up a lot, like my skin and my face and like my fingers, and were really like I was like retaining water, and it was quite weird. Yeah, and really becoming quite enlarged everywhere. Yeah, so but it was fun.
How long did that last from when you stopped? Was it a fairly quick recovery, or was that something that caused some problems for a while?
So the actual water retention caused a few problems because it just meant I was pissing for like 3 days or something, like constantly afterwards. But I think actual recovery from that effort, oh man, I think it was months. It was months before I feel like I could like wake up in the morning and go out for a run and say, I feel good again. It was months and months of run for 2 days and feel real good, and then have a massive like slump on the, run on Monday, run on Tuesday, feel good, and then on Wednesday feel absolutely dreadful. And then it took ages. Maybe I just pushed a bit too much on that one, because recovery from the second one, where I went a bit further, but I suppose
went the whole distance. You didn't just go a bit further.
was better. Was that much better? It wasn't too dissimilar to running a longer ultra. So I think I must have done. I never went to see a doctor or anyone, but I think I must have done, something must have gone a little bit wrong inside me for that first one, because it did take a long time to recover.
And so after you had to pull out at Bridgewater, was there still the desire that this can still be done? I can still do this?
Probably not initially. I think I didn't really think about it for a year. I don't know what I did in the year in between. Maybe there was another 24-hour champs or something. But slowly as days went by, I started thinking, I want to do that. I want to go back and do that again. I need to complete it. I need to it was important for me that I went back and completed it. And not even completed it and beat Richard's record or beat a record, just completed it. And in my head, completing it, that's why one of the reasons why I started from Land's End the other time round, because at least even if things went wrong, at least I might get the first 2 days done, so I could almost add on the 2 days from the second attempt to the 7 days from the first attempt, and say that I have run the length of the country.
I was going to ask, what is the decision making of going from Land's End to John O'Groats or the other way around? What are the factors that you take?
A little bit. So the first time round, I was convinced I was running downhill because
just running back home ish.
And running back home as well, because I think that makes a difference. Yeah, it does. Although it's still quite away from home, Land's End. But the second time round, it was a little bit of that. I wanted to do the first bit, but also predominantly the wind is southwesterly, so predominantly the wind is going to be, if it's windy, the chances are it should be behind you. So the first time I ran it, I did remember a lot of the time the rain being in my face and the wind being in my face. So so that was the plan. And I think all the records have been broken, LEJOG, Land's End to John O'Groats way round.
And in terms of the planning, it just seems absolutely huge.
I was just going to ask this.
Not only your crew and everything, but like even the route. Like it's not a set route. You can pick.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to get from that signpost at the bottom to the signpost at the top.
You didn't copy and paste
Yeah.
on this. This is no like let's kind of wing it and bodge it.
How the hell did you pick what route you went on?
Right, so let me explain, because the first time round it was just simply Google Maps walking route and
avoid motorways and tolls and
yeah. But right, so I'll explain a little bit about what I love about running. Like I really enjoy the simplicity of running and the fact that I can just get out of the door. Like I was saying, like we were talking about earlier, that especially when the sun's out, that you just need a pair of trainers, and if the sun's out, you just need a pair of shorts. You can run bare-chested, and it's so simple. And I really don't enjoy the planning side of things like that. So I'm just not interested in planning a route, on planning nutrition, on looking at spreadsheets. Some runners really like that, and I think some runners, it's part of their journey and it's part of their speaking to John Kelly and understanding what he does. But yes, some runners really like that, but I just hate it. It seems like I'm back at school. So this time round, I was just incredibly lucky to have Robbie Britton, most importantly Robbie Britton in the planning, and then other crew like Charlotte and Mick and Richard Brown and Dave, who did the filming as well, because they did all of that for me.
You outsourced it.
Yeah, I completely outsourced it. Yeah, and I think Robbie explains it really well. Robbie, their job is enablers. That's what he says. So they just enable me just to run and not think about anything else. And they were brilliant. So the route so it was all done meticulously by Robbie, like looking over the route and zooming in on Google Maps and checking that the routes we were going down were okay for us. And so I did absolutely nothing.
But then how did that feel? Maybe this is me just having a bit of a panic, because I'm a spreadsheet kind of geek and
control.
I like to try and control as much as I possibly can going into a race or an event. But we've kind of given that control to other people. And in the film, I think you do joke with like Charlotte when you're leaving Kendal, she says like, oh, it's only 8 miles or something. It's actually 16 miles up to Shap or something. But how did that then feel, not always maybe having that control? Or were you just like, this is just about putting one foot in front of the other and being in that environment?
Yeah, I don't feel like I feel I suppose it's about trust, isn't it? Yeah, like that. The crew and our team for the joggle, they're brilliant people who I trust. I completely trust, and and they've got my back. They're in charge of that. Do you know what I mean? And Robbie's, I completely trust Robbie's route, and also like, I'm so shit at navigation and planning that if I did it, it would be, I don't know, I'd be more anxious if I did it, because it would just be an absolute shit show. So
so Robbie had the navigation, and then did he cycle the whole way with you and was navigating like that?
Yeah, Rob was pretty much with me the whole way. There's stretches in Scotland on the A9 where it's really dangerous for him to be alongside me. It's just it's just not worth it for him to be cycling slowly along a dual carriageway. So Richard at times would cycle with me, but Robbie knows what I'm like at navigation. And also there was, when Richard was cycling alongside me, they were watching the tracker and we were constantly like going off on little wrong detours and stuff. So so pretty much Rob was there for good 90% of the thing, doing the slowest cycle of Land's End to John O'Groats ever.
He's got that record now.
SKT.
An SKT.
I mean, talking about detours, because in the film, and I mean, we were watching it, your tracker as you was going up, sort of thing. So we didn't always maybe see those bits. But in the film, it talks about, was it an 18-mile detour you had to take coming out of Ludlow or something like that because of some roadworks, or you had to suddenly backtrack, or was that just the driving crew?
I think we were quite lucky that time. I think the driving crew had to do a lot of detours. Yeah, there was a lot of times when they had to. There was a couple of detours where there was roadworks on the A9 where we had to go. We had to go out a little bit, but I tend not to worry. Like, even the best thing is just not to think about that and just to go. Because if I start to realise that we're doing even like an extra 3 or 4K in a day, it starts to play on your mind, doesn't it? So I mean, all you can do is just, like you say, just put one foot in front of the other and just get to the finish at the end of that day. So yeah, I think we were okay. We probably did a couple of detours for roadworks, but I think Charlotte and Mick and they were doing a lot more. It was much harder for them to get round the roadworks than it was for us. Yeah.
And talking about putting one foot in front of you, I've got people who are joining us live on YouTube, and John Parkin has asked a question, and he's asked, do you have one thing that you say to yourself when you want to stop that helps you decide to carry on?
What my one thing on there was nothing I was saying to myself, but the one thing I did differently on the second attempt at the Land's End John Groats was just simply not to stop moving. Like I would run, and if I was at the van to get a drink or something to eat, I'd walk and eat it, but not for long. So I just wouldn't let myself stop. So it was literally relentless forward motion the whole time, because I find if I do stop, then my mind senses a weakness, you know what I mean, and then I'll try and I'll stop more often. But if I know that, like, I'm not stopping at all, I'm just constantly moving until I get to the finish, then that seemed to work. Yeah, there's not like a mantra in my mind, but it's just, I just physically don't stop. Yeah.
But because one of the things you talk about in the film as well, and I think it's about Buddhism and a kind of mindfulness, and you talk about the silence as well, like even in the busy roads, that you still hear silence. So do you find that yourself maybe going into those more mindfulness moments? So it's not about having a mantra, but it's more about that kind of mindset.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's a lot the state I love to get in when I'm running is more of it's more like a oneness. And the last day of that joggle was it was really tough, but it was really beautiful in the fact that I really felt like a huge oneness with everything around me. It was wonderful with the massive, like, blue sky and like the countryside around. It really felt like we were, like, completely, like, resonating with the same bars, the same song. It was, I did feel completely at one with everything. And I think I love it to be able to get to that state, because Robbie would totally disagree, but when we talk about nutrition, I think there's an energy you can draw from, like, nature itself, and if you can get to that position where you're resonating in the same frequency as the trees, as the countryside, as the sky, then you can draw down the energy and that they get. And it's and it did happen quite a few times on that joggle, which was which was beautiful. It's a beautiful state to get to. Yeah. And I think as runners we're lucky because we can catapult ourselves to that kind of state a lot easier than when we're outside in the countryside and we're doing that kind of repetitive movement, and our heads are naturally clearer from being outside and away from the kind of normal day, like, rituals in life.
And when you're in that state, are you still feeling the pain, or is the pain gone?
I think you're always Yeah, you're always feeling the pain. The one time I had this really odd experience that happened to me. It was more of a sleep deprivation thing. I ran a race in the desert in China called the Ultra Gobi. It was like a 400-kilometer race, and I at one point towards the finish, I'd maybe been up for like 70 hours with no sleep and stuff. And towards the finish, I floated out of my body, and I was watching myself. I was out of my body and like watching myself run. And that was the one, that was amazing because all the pain and everything just completely disappeared, and it was a fantastic experience. And I was like, oh my god, like if you can start a race and go straight up into the air and just look at you'll absolutely fly. But I think I've heard Yanis Kouros talk about getting into that state before. But
so you just need to not sleep for 70 hours before the race starts to try and work your way into that state.
Either that or some very strong acid. Yeah.
And John Parkin, who asked a question about the mantra, he said that he saw you briefly on the A9 when you was doing LEJOG, when you stopped for a sleep near the end. And he's a fellow West Ham fan as well.
Yes, yeah, he shouted out. I remember very well.
Oh, woke you up.
I remember. I felt really bad because that was the one time my relentless forward motion had stopped, and John turned up to run with me, and I really wasn't I really didn't feel like a run at that particular point in time. So apologies that that didn't happen, and thanks for turning up. Yeah.
We also that leads into another question that we've got here, I think from R.A. George, who's in Dubai and says hello, but he says, do you take any power naps to get yourself recharged? So it sounds like you just powered on through until you stopped each day on the jog.
Yeah, because there is a clip in the film where you sleep on the verge, don't you? Where Rob is like, hand's going to be a bit further up, but you're almost just like, no, I'm going down here on the verge for a little bit.
Yeah, I do power nap sometimes. Yeah, that was on the last day, and I don't know. You get to the point. Sometimes you can feel like like when people are talking and their voices go a little bit wow wow wow, and you're a little bit wobbly. And I think at that point, it was when they were talking to me, it was sound was very distorted, and I felt a little bit wobbly. But so I said. Yeah, so I think it was 2 minutes. I got them to time 2 minutes, and it's amazing what seems. I don't know if you've done it, but what seems to happen in your head, it's almost like you have 2 minutes of this frantic kind of like weird, like kind of lucid dream type state, and it's almost like your brain like sorts everything, like when you go to sleep and it's almost like your brain sorts everything out that's happened in the day, and it's almost like your brain does it in those 2 minutes, and you don't really sleep, but you just sort stuff. I don't know, it's almost like your brain sorts stuff out. And yeah, I find 2 minutes is enough to do that, and you can get up and feel reasonably refreshed. Well, I got up and people's voices weren't going wow wow wow. So
I mean, talking about sleep, so you handed over the organisation. Well, I don't know if you completely handed over or delegated the organisation of LEJOG to Robbie and others. But you obviously had set finish your points of every day, or was it literally let's just try and keep going? I just want to try and cover something like 80 to 90 miles a day. That's what it kind of seemed like in the film when Mum was watching you do it. Did you just have like a set distance for every day, or were you like, there's a good lay-by here, there's a good place to park, this would be a good place to finish the day and kind of for a certain time?
I think Dan's frozen again.
I think Dan's lost. Oh, no. Oh, you're back. Brilliant.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
I'm back, yeah.
You're back.
Yeah.
Back in the room.
No, we always had a set distance each day that we wanted to do, yeah. And then, depending on where we got to, it might be another extra mile or a mile, where we could park up, basically. I think that's important. For me, that's important anyway, to have those, because you kind of know there's a set start and there's a set finish. And if there's not a set finish, your mind again is going to try and get you to stop. If you just see how far I can run on that day, you're never going to run. I think I'd say you're never going to run as far as you could. You're always going to stop a little bit earlier. So I think it was important to have those set times, to finish or set targets to get to, And I think we pretty much did it apart from that second to last day. And there was one day when they wanted me to go a little bit further, but I was adamant that I think we should just like stick to the schedule sort of thing. So and if I think I'd try and do the same thing if I run a 6-day race again. I think I'll try and set like targets for each day that I get to, and then have a little rest, and then get up and do the same thing again. It seems to work.
And how late in the day were you finishing then? Because it looked quite dark, like kind of, was it 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock time?
I don't think it was. I don't think it was that late. I think obviously at the start I'm a little bit quicker, and maybe it was more like 8:30, but maybe towards the end, maybe it was like 10:30 at night. Maybe not. I don't know. It's hard to remember.
But you were getting up early in the morning as well, though, weren't you? I mean, in the film again, it's kind of like 5 o'clock. Were you starting most mornings?
Yeah, I think 5 most mornings. I think the last day we started at 4. Yeah, you might as well. I mean, there's not really that much time. Like there's an optimum amount of sleep, isn't there? And well, not an optimum, but if you sleep too much, I think it's detrimental in a way. You just need to sleep enough to get a little bit of recovery and feel a little bit fresher the next day. But if you're sleeping too much, I always think it's good to get up before it gets light and start running. It feels, I don't know, it feels like miles that you I don't know, that you're doing for free as well. Do you know what I mean? Like you get up and start running even though you're tired and you've done 2 hours before you wake up, sort of thing.
And did you have a set kind of routine? So when you finished, and I probably kind of could preempt the answer to this, but did you have like set meals or like certain food planned, like this is what I'm going to want to eat end of every day, or was it like Charlotte just?
I think there wasn't set meals, but I think it just depended on what was around. Like basically, I was just eating, I think, from fish and chip shops every night. And it was just whatever was there. There was nothing
like 1,000 calories or 500 calories or something like that. Just get it in.
No, because how does that ever work? Yeah, when you try and bag 500, like you can work out what's in a portion of fish and chips. You never eat them all, do you? And like half of them you throw up, and like it's just.
If you are doing a jog, you might throw them up. Normally, I don't. But yeah.
And were there any other routines that you had before? Like, was there any massages? Was it, I've got to have a shower, that makes me feel better? Was there anything else that you were doing to help yourself?
I think, I had the GB physio came and helped out. He was brilliant, Alan, and he gave me a few massages. But one thing that really helped me was getting in a bath. So when we could get a hotel room, and getting in a bath was important because I was chafed.
That's the most painful thing ever. I shot in the film.
I've had chafing in that place before and then got in the shower and know how painful it is. Watching you get in that bath was like watching someone for a film. Was like I was feeling your pain.
But it's always better once you do it. So I think
it's that initial.
Yeah.
That looked. I mean, you allude to it, and if people wanting their gore kind of take on, an ultramarathons, and because often people are like, oh, what are your feet like, and want to see if it looked like you got some pretty nasty I mean, there's no photos of it, thankfully. That would definitely make it excellent, wouldn't it? But it sounded like it got pretty.
I think when that was getting tended to, I did say that that's a wife's crewing job, because I do a bit of crewing for people, and there's certain limits where I probably wouldn't have got involved with
Actually, they were quite good, I think. I think everyone helped out with that one. It did get better. Like the coconut, I put some coconut oil on and it got. That's the thing about chafing. It does get better quite rapidly if you. It was quite good, but it was just messy. It was just messy down there. It was horrible, and it was quite a humid week. It was like real muggy, like British weather, and that kind of sweat was just not good for the chafe, is it? Yeah. So it was Yeah, I think that one day crossing over the border into Scotland, it was pretty bad. Yeah, but but baths seem to help. Yeah, and what a bath would do is if I could get in a bath like pretty soon after finishing, it would kind of numb my legs a little bit as well. They wouldn't hurt as much, because I find like the most important thing after you stop running is to kind of accelerate the time it takes for your, like, so you stop running but your body doesn't stop running for like another 3 hours. Like it still seems like it's moving, and your legs hurt, and it probably takes 3 hours to like really like calm your legs down before you can get any sleep, and the bath seemed to help to accelerate that, which enabled me to get like a little bit of sleep when my legs weren't in too much pain.
Was it a hot or cold bath, or just kind of regular temperature?
Depending how I was feeling, sometimes I got in a ice bath, yeah, but they're just horrible, aren't they? They really are. I mean, you can't.
Yeah.
You've been running all day, and you want to just sit in a hot bath and kind of like slow, like drift away somewhere. And oh my God, those ice baths are they're just hideous. Yeah, I don't know if they do any good. Do they do any good?
But the research is a bit mixed, a bit varied. Yeah. But so you're saying you're getting up early in the morning to kind of seize that extra bit. But did you ever wake up? And if people watch the film, they'll see you definitely. I think James Stewart says you look like a zombie at one point, which maybe isn't the most kind of complimentary.
No, I think that was quite kind. Yeah.
But was there any time you woke up in the morning and just went, why? You know, or look, I've got past Bridgewater now. What?
No. I was lucky this time. There wasn't one point I did that, because the hardest thing on those like multi-day things is the first 20 minutes of running in the morning, because you really are. I mean, it's a mess. Like on those 6-day races as well, when you get out and you start running, you have to walk for a bit, and you can't even walk properly, and then you have to get into a slow kind of run, and you're all over the place. Your legs aren't working, you're in all sorts of pain, you're running gait or whatever. It's an absolute mess. But after that 20 minutes or so, when I don't know what happens, the blood starts to move around, you can start moving, but that first half an hour is awful. But no, I never had that thought, and I think a lot of it was due to like when we were talking about how much work like Robbie did, and Mick and Charlotte and Richard who were around. Like you can't stop. They're like, they've invested so much time in helping me achieve this goal that I want to achieve, and it would be disrespectful to them to I think to stop. And I always had. I always, I never had a thought that I wanted to stop, especially in the mornings. Yeah, maybe towards the end of the day a couple of times, but in the mornings, up and at them. Yeah.
And being up and out, Paul Feely has asked the questions. Yeah, again, kind of talking about the organisation, I think he wants to kind of know what did you enjoy eating whilst running, and what were you? I mean, because there are.
I think enjoy is a bit of a strong word.
There are bits where you kind of like. Was it mainly the Morton and those kind of liquid energy drinks?
Yeah, I didn't enjoy eating anything, and to be honest, I don't even know what I was eating. Like, Charlotte would just give me something, and I knew that I just had to try my hardest to eat it, and so I just put it in my mouth. And I don't know what it was, maybe little bits of pasta or some sandwiches, and it was a bit of beta fuel we used mainly on that. And I don't really know what. And I didn't, like I said, I didn't enjoy it. Like Robbie would be constantly on me, have a drink, like offer me the beta fuel, and I'd be so annoyed with him saying it that I'd take like a 1.5 litre bottle and I'd just down it in one, because then he wouldn't say it again for like 45 minutes or something. And it was, there was nothing. It's not enjoyable eating when you're running ultras. I don't find that at all. So yeah. nothing.
Because you got really bad. Because Charlotte says you got like bad ulcers at one point as well, didn't you? And we can see your lips kind of splitting near the end as well.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of deterioration happening there.
Yeah, I think that always happens to me in multi-day stuff. Yeah, I get big ulcers on my tongue and like my lips will crack open and So some foods and they kind of zing a little bit, but yeah, I think once you've done like 2 or 3 days on an attempt like that, you just know you've just got to eat. So whatever you're given, you just kind of put in your mouth, and if you can't chew it, you kind of swill it down with a bit of water or something. So yeah, they need to make little pills or something that've got everything in.
1,000 calories in a pill.
Yeah, like Willy Wonka. We need Willy Wonka, like in the China Chocolate Factory.
Exactly. Yeah.
that's what we need.
So how was your recovery after that amazing run, like you said?
Yeah, it wasn't too bad, I don't think. It definitely didn't feel as bad as the other time. You know, I think for me, it's important I find it hard not to move. And I think, like, when we're running every day, I think the biggest shock to the body is when you're not moving. So I think it was like 3 or 4 days when I started to run again, but just, half
3
an hour,
or 4 days
20 minutes.
after finishing it.
Yeah, because I really noticed that if I can move, it accelerates recovery. Yeah. So, and because it must be a shock to the body. Yeah. Like we're running every single day. And then if all of a sudden, I stop or we stop running, it must be it's like someone who never runs and then all of a sudden starts running 10K a day. It'd be a shock to the system. So, yeah. So I think movement helps. So, yeah, so I got running and pretty soon afterwards, and then just built it up, I suppose, kind of slowly. But yeah, the recovery it was okay. It wasn't as bad as last time. Yeah. But I don't know. It's a hard one to tell because I think those sort of longer efforts, I don't know. I don't know if they shave off little bits of you like long term. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. Like I've seen
you lost some of your person on that A9.
Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting. It'd be interesting to speak to some like Carla about her LEJOG and see whether I think it does take. I don't know what it takes from you, but I think it takes a little bit of something from you, and I've seen it happen. Like Pete Kostelnick who ran across America. I mean, that's amazing. I mean, that's like 6 weeks of it. But I've seen it happen, and people are never the same since. I think when you're preparing to do something like that, I think you have to kind of understand that it might take a little bit from you, as well, yeah.
It's you're just depleting the body so much, aren't you? And
doing so much. Also, kind of mentally, if you've had that big goal and then you did it, like was it hard to then kind of pull yourself out of that? And did you need something else to focus on, or how did you deal with it?
I think for the first time for a long time, I probably in terms of running, I did feel like kind of like a bit of satisfaction, as well. Like, oh, brilliant, you know what I mean? Like, but I think I don't think it makes that much difference because I've said it. I think I say it in the film. Like we run in ultra runners. We're running ultras for a reason because we like the pain. Like it's addictive that state you get in and that pushing your body and getting to that point where you are so depleted. I quite like that. So although I'm satisfied that I did that, I still have an urge to put my body in that position again because I kind of like that. I kind of like that feeling. That it's like I say, it's like self-harm, isn't it, in a way? But so yeah, I'm happy I did it, but I still want to feel fucked. Yeah, if you know what I mean. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, I mean, we've been having a good chat for an hour, and we said we'll only keep for an hour at your daughter's house and bedroom. But we've got
getting
one
dark
scoop
in here as well, isn't
It's
it?
getting a bit light starting to go, isn't it? Yeah.
I'm trying to stand under the light to make a difference.
I love the fact that in the film, like, Charlotte says about how you never sit, and I was like, well, what's he going to do for this interview? But obviously you're just walking around chatting.
Yeah, standing up.
Well, I did say, didn't I? We were like, I bet Dan's going to be standing for this. I felt like we're sat on a sofa. We should be at our standing desks, standing as
we're just walking out on the hills.
Yeah. So we got the scoop right at the beginning about you not returning to the 24-hour World Champs this year. Have you got any other big kind of crazy runs planned? Have you got any other kind of big distances? Kind of like, oh yeah.
Yeah, one thing I'd really, and me and Robbie have talked about, and Richard as well, I'd like to do is I'd like to go to Ireland and try and see how close I get to Ian Keefe's record of Ireland, top to bottom, because it feels a bit more like that. I get a bit more excited thinking about that rather than running around a track for 24 hours. So that's what I'd really like to do, but that's dependent on like whether we're allowed to go into Ireland. I think at the moment you have to quarantine for 2 weeks. So, so if that changes, I'd like to do that towards the end of the summer.
Oh wow, that soon. Well, yeah, it's 5 days at the moment because I know looking for the Anglican Plate, which is in Dublin. Been looking at it. Yeah, it's 5 days, but hopefully with restrictions beginning to ease a little bit. Yeah, it's being kind of reviewed every 3 weeks, isn't it? So, which would date this interview when people come back to listen to it. That we kind
of wonder why we're not allowed into Ireland.
It's because of COVID restrictions. If you're listening to this,
it's nothing to do with my criminal record.
The passport control. They look at. Hang on a second, Daniel Lawson. That'd be fantastic. So that'd be awesome to watch if you get to do that one. And is there any other one you've been eyeing up? So you got Ireland, you fancy?
Come on, there's some bigger countries.
No, I don't know. I think it's I'd really like. There's one thing I'd really like to do, and I'd really want to try and get close to running over 1,000 kilometers on a 6-day race.
Wow.
6-day races don't really happen in the UK at the moment. So maybe next year I'd like to try another 6-day race and see if I could get close to 1,000 kilometers. I think only 5 people have ever run above 1,000 kilometers since time has begun or whatever. So that would be nice to see if I could get close to that. Yeah,
but not on a treadmill.
Not in a arcade.
Yeah, definitely not. Yeah,
fantastic.
We didn't even get a chance to talk about Rerun Clothing, but if people want to go to Rerun Clothing, which you founded. There's lots of info on the website, isn't there, about what you do?
There is, and you don't even. I mean, basically, Rerun. We're just encouraging runners to make their clothes last longer and to get much more use out of them, and not to buy new stuff so much, and because that simple act reduces their carbon, water and waste footprint by enormously. So that's basically what we're saying. You don't even have to look us up, just wear your old t-shirts and old shoes and don't buy anything new.
And how are the shoes doing which you made? I saw on Instagram that you tried making a pair.
I'm loving that. I did a cobbler's course, and I'm starting to make trainers out of like old running trainers. I'm enjoying it. It's good. What size are you, man?
It's kind of 7.5.
Okay, well, maybe I'll make you a pair. They're a bit snazzy. They
look pretty funky.
I haven't seen these. I need to look those up.
So again, if you listen to this, head over to Dan's Instagram. You can see these shoes.
They're quite hipster. Yeah,
well, they look very 80s. It took me back to the 80s when I saw them. They kind of was that very 80s vibe with them at them. So being a child of the 70s, 80s was a kind of key fashion time.
Yeah, same here. That's what. Yeah. I think pairs of trainers should look like hot hatchbacks. They should be that shape. They should look like I don't know, a Fiesta XR2i or something.
With peppercorns.
So
anyway,
I'm glad you said that they look 80s. Yeah, that's the whole idea. Yeah.
I've got to hit them up. Perfect. Yeah. Brilliant. I mean, it's been fantastic chatting to you. We've kind of been wanting to get you on for a while since we started doing these interviews on a Wednesday, but it's brilliant to finally get you on and chat and to been able to watch the film. And if people haven't yet watched kind of Breaking 10, head over to Vimeo. We'll put the link in the show notes. Head over, watch the film. It is amazingly, super inspiring, really emotional as well. The finish is super emotional to watch. I mean,
and when your mum turns up.
Your mum turning up as well. That's it's complete highs and lows. If people want to try and get to understand what it's like doing these crazy events, it really kind of shines a light into it, and the massive highs and lows of it. So awesome job there with LEJOG, Dan. Fantastic and brilliant film as well. And allowing the camera
Dave
crew.
MacFarlane for that.
Allowing the camera crew just to get some of those moments, especially going into the bath with some serious chafing going on.
Quite a close-up picture of your shot.
Yeah, but only in the face. Let's not before anybody.
Where was he? He was standing on the taps or something. Yeah, with his.
I watched this with my kids.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Brilliant, Dan. Well, all the best for if the borders open and you're allowed into Ireland.
We'll be following you.
With that, and also then with building up to the kind of trying to clock 1,000 kilometres as well. It's been great having you on this evening.
Thanks for having me. All
right, brilliant. If you just hang on Skype when we finish, we'll have a proper cheerio, but we'll end the interview now here live on YouTube. Brilliant. Thanks very much, Dan. Oh, fantastic. That was brilliant there. And I hope you've enjoyed it if you've been joining us live. And say if you listen to it on the podcast as well, always leave a note, comment in the give us some feedback. And if you've been watching it live on YouTube and you've enjoyed it, give us a thumbs up, click subscribe as well to keep up to date with what's happening. Claire's, I think, back next week. And
we'll be back in 2 weeks.
We're back in 2 weeks' time with another Marcus. So it'll be double Marcus. Brilliant. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll speak soon. Cheers now. Bye.